Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to run a Infernet node with a TGI service. A little bit about TGI. It's basically this toolkit framework for running LLMs. So if you have any kind of LLMs that you want to run in your application, you can use Ritual's Infernet nodes to do so. So amazing. Let's go ahead and do that. All of the project code for this tutorial is going to be at the Infernet Container Starter repository, and the specific project that we're running in this tutorial is the TGI LLM tutorial. And you can see that there's multiple projects here. There's container, contracts, TGI, and UI. I'm going to explain, what every single one of them is in this tutorial. First things first, what we're going to do is actually bring up the TGI instance. So over here, I have rented a paperspace instance, and you can see that I've cloned the same repository over there. From the top level directory, you can simply run this command, make run service project equals TGI LLM and TGI service is TGI. And by running this, you can see that it's actually running this model, so Mistral AI, Mistral 7B, and it downloads the model and it runs it. So to actually see what's going on here, you can actually come and take a look at this makefile under the TGI directory. All we're doing is run this Docker command. It's already Dockerized, so it's super easy to run it on a remote instance. Excuse me. So amazing. We can see that it's running, and we can now test that this is actually working. And for that, we actually have this nifty little UI project. It's a Gradio UI that runs with this instance. And we're going to take a look at how it looks. But to be able to run this, you actually have to copy-paste this environment variable, this sample environment file, into gradioui.env. And having done that, you're going to be able to run it. So the stuff that you need over there is basically the TGI service URL, so full URL, HTTP, and then your IP, and then the ports, and then some Huggingface API token, and a path to a prompt file. And this is the base prompt, or the system prompt rather. So if you go here, you're a friendly chatbot, that's basically the prompt. So let's run it. In a new tab, I'm going to go into Infernet Container Starter. Amazing. What we're going to do is do make run service project equals TGI LLM service equals UI. And by running this, we can see that it's building the Docker image and running it on port 3001. Now let's go and take a look at how that UI project looks. All right, awesome. We can see that it's running. We can actually type in some kind of prompt here. So, hello, how are you? And submit, and we can see that it is returning to us some response. And its response makes sense. Sometimes it has really funny responses. This is just like a base Mistral model, so sometimes it has weird responses. Awesome. So with that out of the way, we can actually bring up the Infernet node with this instance. And to do that, it's very easy. You basically do make build container, deploy container, project equals TGI LLM. And by running that, you can see that it's basically telling us that the config file doesn't exist. So much like the UI project, you actually need to have modify some configurations to run the container itself as well. So what we're going to do, we already have this config.sample.json file. If you come here, you can basically see that the only thing that it really needs to change, and this is also in our docs, is this TGI service URL. So I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this into config.json and change this service URL with the service URL of our TGI instance. So I already have that stored in this other file, and there we go. That's our service URL. So with that out of the way, we can actually bring up this instance as well. So let me actually clear up the terminal so that you can see make build container, deploy container project equals TGI LLM. And by running that, we can see that the Infernet container has come up. So from here, we can actually make a Web2 request. The way that we do that is to effectively make a post request to the Infernet node itself. And in a new tab, I'm going to go ahead and do just that. So make, curl post. So from the command line, it's just easier to do it from here. So you can see that the container ID is the same container ID as that one in our config file. So if you come here, the container ID is TGI LLM. And the data is of this format. So it's basically a dictionary with the key prompt, and the prompt actually being, can shrimp actually fry rice? So let's see what the TGI instance says. So we submitted this job. It gave us an ID, and now we can check the status of that job using a GET request. So I already have this other command from my history, so I'm going to just replace the UUID. But to get the job status, it's very simple. It's add /API/jobs, and then you pass in ID as a query parameter. And we can see that it returned a JSON to us. And to make it a little bit prettier, I'm just going to pipe this into JQ. And we can see that the result is, I'm not sure if this is a real question or not, but and then we have limited number of tokens. I'm not running this instance with a lot of tokens, so otherwise it would have just gone on and on. But we can see that the job actually works, and in the Infernet node has basically serviced us a compute result. Now, what we want to do is to do this from Web3 as well, and for that you basically need to deploy some contracts and make a on-chain request. So to do that, I'm going to actually come here and run things on multiple tabs so that you can see. And let's begin. So I'm going to go into the container starter repository again, and I'm going to do docker logs-f anvil node. Oh, sorry, it's logs, not log. There we go. So alongside this project, we're also actually bringing up an Anvil node with all of the Infernet SDK contracts already deployed. You can take a look at our docs for basically seeing where the coordinator address is and so on and so forth. And we already have a node registered with the coordinator as well. So what we're going to do over here is to deploy contracts, and to do so it's quite easy. We basically have to run this command, make deploy contracts project equals TGI LLM, and that's pretty much it. Once we do that, it's going to deploy the contracts. We can see that the transaction was submitted and in the Anvil node logs, and we can see that this contract got created. Right now we have to call the contract. And we're going to be able to see that the Infernet node picks up the request and from onchain, because it's listening onchain, and it's going to send it to our TGI service, get the results, and post it back here. So let's go ahead and do that. So make call contract project equals TGI LLM, and now we have to basically pass in a prompt. So we can do prompt equals hello, how are you? And doing that, it sends a request, and everything happens super fast here. But basically this transaction got sent, Infernet node picked it up, it basically got the results from the TGI service, and then submitted this last transaction, which is printed in our contract. So the output, we can see that it's saying, I'm doing well, thank you, I'm writing this post from blah, blah, blah. All right, awesome. So to basically see where that is happening, you can come to this contracts project, which is a simple Foundry project. And over here, we can see that this is the contract that's actually making this call. So when we are prompting, we're calling this function. And you can see that it's requesting a compute, passing the same ID as our container ID. And upon receiving the compute, it posts this giant ritual banner, which is extremely cool. And it basically decodes the output. And yeah, so that's it. That's how you run a Web3 request using an Infernet node. So now you can basically take this and run any kind of model with it, and pretty much with very minimal change to the container code, you can basically configure it to your own needs, and you already have some kind of base contracts at your disposal that you can iterate on and develop locally, as opposed to having to going through some testnet or something. It's much nicer to do it on Anvil because you already have all of these contracts, these addresses that have a lot of money. So, you don't have any limitation in terms of testnet tokens. And also another good thing about it is that it just runs faster and you can run it with all sorts of configurations. That's it. And thank you so much for this video, for watching this video, and hopefully see you in another tutorial.